Once we've adopted these standards of behavior and conduct, we're committed to honor them. And if we don't, then there can be no disciplined activity.
If you're not hungry, if you're not willing, if you don't have the grit, if you don't have the tenacity, then you're not going to get what you're looking for.
I have to be truthful to myself. You have to be truthful to yourself. You have to stop rationalizing, stop making excuses, stop telling yourself little watered down assessments of where you're really at. Tell yourself the truth.
If you live very long at all of your youthful idealism gives way to the harsh realities of life itself. When you were a teenager, you thought you knew everything music, but when you got to put everything in practice, you found out it wasn't as easy as you thought it was. Life has a way of making you close your mouth. Life will mute you, shut you down. Because all of us, if you live long enough, will go through a period of feeling so overwhelmed that you think of one more thing if the phone rings, one more time if I get another text, if I get another email. Sometimes I question technology. I appreciate all the advances, but I don't need another way for anybody to be able to access me.
We find ourselves announcing our standards to our relatives, our friends, our associates. We shout our beliefs and condemn those who believe any differently, but then we don't walk the talk. We end up acting in a way far different from the beliefs we've shouted. We tell our kids that the TV is rotting their minds, yet we spend our evenings in front of it. We tell our employees that they must take advantage of every minute of the working day, yet we spend 3 hours at lunch. Do as I say, not as I do. This is inconsistent. This leads to a loss of credibility among those who watch us. And more importantly, this leads to a loss of credibility within ourselves.
I want you to recognize that it takes work. It takes sacrifice. It takes understanding. It takes will. It takes determination. This is that time right now to get it. Push that last rep. Push with everything you got. Tell excuses to step aside. Let weakness know that it is not welcome in your house. And go after what it is that you are seeking. Because the opportunities are yours. Go get it. Go get it now. And give it everything you got. Be productive. Be powerful. And from the bottom of my heart, conduct your business.
The only thing worse than one who is inconsistent in applying their self-imposed disciplines is one who has never considered the need or the value of discipline at all. These people seem to wander aimlessly, changing procedures, changing standards, changing loyalties, and shifting frequently from one commitment to another, leaving behind a trail of broken friendships, unfinished projects, and unfulfilled promises, all because of a discipline that was either non-existent or imposed so infrequently that it was ineffective. Here's the third step to becoming consistently self-disciplined. Number one is realizing that discipline isn't the easiest option. Number two, discipline is a full-time activity, day by day, every day. And the third step to becoming self-disciplined is really a philosophy that holds one of life's unique promises.
You want a shortcut. You want to go the easy route. That's what you're looking for, right? That's what you're thriving for, right? It's not how it works in the real world. There are no easy days. Why would you want easy? Why do you want to just take the short route? How many times have you parked your car at your local grocery store and you wanted to get closer to the door instead of parking far away from the door? That is an opportunity right there to test yourself and say, why not walk a little bit further? You're probably thinking, why should I? Because it's convenient for me to be closer to the door. Convenience is not always the best policy. It's not the best way to go about things in your life. Everything should not be given to you. Instead, you should earn it.
You've lost again and again. Again, the lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day, and say to yourself, it's not over until. If you want to make your dream become reality, the people that are running at their dreams know that it's possible. That you can live your dream, that it's necessary, that you're relentless, that you have a plan of action, that you are creative. The people that are living their dream of finding winners to attach themselves to the people that are living their dreams of a people that know that it's going to happen, it's up to them, and they're resolving within themselves, it's not over until I win. Listen to me very closely. Winners win and losers lose, and there are those of you out there, you lose it and you don't. deserve to lose. You put in the work, you work hard, and you blooms.
So that you can get where you want to go. You can be who you want to be. You can be who you should be. Who you should be when you do what you know you should do. When you pay attention to the little things. When you implement discipline. True and unflinching and unmitigated discipline in your life. When you stop trying to find a sweatless solution. When you look for weaknesses to work on, when you allow no easy excuses. And all that starts when you stop lying to yourself.
Given equally to every human being, time is therefore the only commodity every human possesses. We don't possess the same amount of money. We possess the same amount of time. So the key to life is what you become in life is determined by how you use the time you have. And that's why we use terms like spending time. Time is a currency. Every human has the same amount every day. And time, like currency, must be spent. And here's the problem. Time is used to buy life. So whatever you are, you spend your time buying it. Time is so powerful that whatever you invest your time in, you become. Write this down. Time can be what? Abused. Time can also be lost. You can lose it, just like money. Time can be squandered, just like money. You could spend an entire day. Have you ever said this? I don't know where the day gone.
I mean, you do me a favor. This is me here to turn that around. The people that are running after that dream know they're going to have hard times. They keep on running because they're saying within themselves, I'm the one, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. The people that are running after their dreams are the people that are hungry. Listen to me very closely. Somewhere you are broke, listen to me, you flat out broke, right? You ain't got gas money. And we're not just talking about money, you've broken your relationships. You've broken your health and you not work because you have to be right. And I'm telling you, your whole life is going to change.
When you stop lying to yourself, that's when you can become who you know you should be. When you tell yourself the truth about where you are so you can make sure you are in the right place. And if you're not in the right place, that you can get yourself on the path to get there. Path of discipline, the path of hard work, and the path of truth.
Most people, their associations are to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. But it's so illogical. Because when you look at comfort, a lot of those are connected to discomfort. Like discomfort is your friend. It really is. Like discomfort, not being happy and content with certain situations in life, certain feelings in life. They're massive motivators and they're amazing at facilitating change. Well, when I was 21 and I was first starting to do comedy, that's when I was really devouring as much of it as possible because I was trying to figure out like how to not be so lazy.
Yeah, I know, that's right. Why? You squandered it. It didn't take you closer to your goals, didn't take you closer to your vision, didn't accomplish the things you wanted, and you spent it and squandered it on stuff that didn't count. Time is more important than money. That's why the businessman say time is. Can I put it another way? Write this down. Time can be depreciated just like money. Time can also be devalued. Every hour is important. My question is, what are you spending it on? You can reduce the value of your life by the things you spend your time with, who you spend your time with, where you spend your time all day. You can devalue your time. I'm a victim of time. Write this down, please. You can never stop time. You can also never control it. You can't resist it. You can't never compromise with time.
If you would get off the couch, stop playing video game, having a good time, you've got to have the strength of character to concentrate to read the guide. Just information, you've got to learn how to become resourceful, you've got to learn how to become creative like thrill, you broke at you. Will you grow by complaining, I'm going to a job you don't like, you are broke? This is them, you go on to a job you'll like, you've been there 15, 20 years and put on the job. I'm not even saying you should quit your job, but I'm saying that after you get off work just like you, invested ever you need to invest in yourself. And the problem is simple, you're not investing in your idea, that you're always looking for a way to get over.
I remember when I was stuck in anger for a long time, when I made a commitment to my adopted mother that I was going to purchase her a home. I'll never forget the experience of working real hard to get the money for the down payment. Someone had told me of a beautiful home in an exclusive area of Miami. Went to see it, took my mother there, and she said, yes, I want it. It was on the water. We went to the closing. My attorney said, Les, have you had a title search? I said, what's a title search? Well, we just take a couple of days to check it out and make sure there are no liens against the property that you might have to pay if you buy this home. The guy who was there selling me the house, he said, listen, he said, the only reason that I'm selling you this house and selling it at a loss is because I admire the fact that you want to purchase this house for your mother. I have another guy who will give me substantially more money, but I like it, and I've got to get back to Philadelphia. Now, if we cannot consummate this deal now, then the deal is off. I said, there are no liens against the property? He says, no, of course not. I looked at my attorney. I said, I believe him. I'll sign. She said, Mr. Brown, I'm not questioning his honesty. She said, but business is business. I signed that contract. And we had a big celebration. Everybody in the neighborhood was talking about Leslie coming home, one of the twins that Mamie adopted, to buy her a home. Child, isn't that nice? God is going to bless him. A few weeks later, I received a letter, a registered letter, indicating that the house was going up for sheriff's sale. On the courthouse steps, a man had filed a $12,000 lien against the property because the previous owner owed him that money. And if I did not come up with $12,000 in 30 days, he was going to sell the house to the highest bidder. I called this man and said, mister, my name is Les Brown. I purchased this house. I had nothing to do with your prior bill. He said, that's not my problem. He said, you should have had a title search. I said, can you give me time? I said, my mother is an older lady. She has a bad heart. And I said, please. I said, if you just give me the time, I don't know how I'm going to do it with the house note and everything else, but I think I can pay you at least $2,000 a month. And within 6 months, somehow I will pay you your money. He said, no, I want it all in 30 days or you get out. I did everything I could, racked my mind thinking about how I could get $12,000 because I took everything I could to get the money just for the down payment and the closing. I finally had to face the reality that I wasn't going to be able to do it. I was up around 2 o'clock in the morning, walking back and forth, thinking, how was I going to tell my mother this? My children were there in the room sleeping all night long. I agonized over this. I lost over 23 pounds. Pretty soon I went in the room where my mother was sleeping and I said, Mama, I got down on my knees by the bed. I said, Mama, I got to talk to you. And she said, what's wrong? I said, Mama, I said, we got to get out the house. I said, in my haste to buy the house, I made a mistake. She said, that's all right, baby. I didn't like this house anyhow. I said, Mama, you told me you loved it. I brought our friends out here to see it. She said, you know I have arthritis in my knees, and I don't like going up the steps, but I knew it made you happy. You loved it so much. I said, Mom, I've lost 23 pounds agonizing over this. Well, we had to pack up and go back to the old house down the street from Northwestern High School in Liberty City. All those neighbors who came out and saw us leave, those neighbors were there as we were coming back. We went in the house, the roaches were playing cards, saying, come on in and take a hand. I was wiped out. I was embarrassed and humiliated. Words cannot encompass the symbolism of what I felt. I remember when I was unloading the furniture and I began to cry. My sister came by. You know you didn't have any money to buy no house, Mr. Big Time. Hadn't given me a quarter. You know Mama got a bad heart, now y'all back where you belong. As I was crying and my head down, taking furniture in, my mama said, hold your head up. I said, Mama, I just feel so bad about this, Mama. She said, hold your head up and dry your tears. You have nothing to be ashamed of. And I did.
Now we could talk of the wealth of experience, the wealth of friends, the wealth of love, the wealth of family, the wealth of culture, wealth of many kinds. However, in this program, we are more specifically going to talk about wealth in the sense of financial freedom. Wealth that comes from the conversion of effort and enterprise into currency and equity. For each of us, the amount of money required to be wealthy will differ, but the dream for all of us, I'm sure, is the same. Freedom from financial pressure, more freedom of choice, freedom to enjoy, and the opportunity to create and to share. Wealth, the possession of great financial resources that improves the quality of your life and gives you added dignity and expanded lifestyle. So decide for yourself what wealth means to you. Latch on to your own mental image of wealth, and let's see if the ideas I'm about to bring to you will make sense and perhaps provide you with the inspiration to put the plan into high action. so that as the days pass, you will discover a growing sense of freedom and dignity, self-worth, substance, and lifestyle.
Elijah's in the cave. And let me tell you something that's amazing. I realized something. Nobody saw him under the juniper tree, and nobody saw him in the cave. The last time he was in public was on Mount Carmel. And on Mount Carmel, he was Superman. So everybody thinks he's Superman. Only God knows that he's Clark Kent. Isn't it funny how everybody can think you're better than you are, stronger than you are? Oh, you know, when you're good at what you do, people use you, almost abuse you, which is really a compliment because they can count on you. They don't think that you're human. Oh, Mary's just always nice. Oh, Frida's just always good at her job. Oh, Pastor so-and-so just always, he's just amazing. He's amazing. Our pastor's just amazing. He's amazing. I just went to First Central and oh, it's just amazing. It's amazing. Well, they see you on Mount Carmel. Nobody knows about your juniper trees and your caves. Nobody sees your secret places of frustration but God. And he's up under the juniper tree. And I think, you know, sometimes I think you ought to take a moment and just thank God that he gives you privacy with your pain. A luxury you will not have if you continue to succeed, I might add. Because the benchmark of when you really go mainstream, the hardest thing to have is privacy with your pain. So while you're fighting to be discovered and fighting to be exposed, be careful. Because once that light hits you, it don't just show your Carmel, your Mount Carmel. It shines right up under your juniper tree and right into your cave and into your kids' caves. Be careful what you ask for, you might get it.
If you have nothing, I live in Fiji a portion of the time. I have a home there, a resort there, and families and villages there that I interact with for the last 25 years. When you go to Fiji, you walk down the street, you drive by, and people jump up and they yell, "Bula, bula, bula," which means welcome, be happy, we love you. And you drive by 5 minutes later and they jump up, "Bula, bula, bula." And you're going like, what drugs are they taking? No one's paying them. But they're so happy. They're in such a different state. They've learned to focus on something else and come up with a different meaning for life. But if the meaning is it's the end, if the meaning is that you're dissing me, if the meaning is you don't care, whatever meaning we come up with, that affects the third decision, which is what am I going to do? And what people do is based on the meaning, since the meaning creates emotion, right? You can be miserable no matter what you have, and you can be euphoric having nothing. We all know it's true. In fact, is it possible to learn to, like, for example, all hell could be breaking loose around you, and you could just be sitting in a chair in this centered space, all hell breaking loose, and you could still feel great? Is that possible? Yes or no? Yes or no? Sure, but you and I live in a Western culture. Well, if you sit and bliss out, people come and take your furniture.
Knowledge equals execution and speed. I don't run 24-hour days. I don't even think that way. Does that help you? Yes or no? It's a total difference. Next thing you need to do, you need to stop negotiating the price tag in your life. Here's the fact. I'll give you the facts, okay? The fact of the matter is that when I was struggling, I was constantly negotiating whether it was worth it. Is it worth it? I'm away from my family. What's costing me money? I had to come to this seminar. Is it when you're negotiating the price you're paying all the time? Does that sound familiar to you? Yes or no? Or the people around you are negotiating the price you're paying all the time. When I was poor and broke, when I would walk into a store, we all relate to this, I didn't look at what I wanted, I looked at price tags. I flipped them up. What's it cost? What's it cost? What's it cost? What's it cost? I can get that one. What's it cost? When I looked at a menu, what's it cost? What's it cost? I'll get that. People who come from scarcity and are poor thinkers are constantly negotiating price. Wealthy people, there's a thin veil. They negotiate worth. There's a difference between cost and worth. Is what I'm doing worth it? Is what I'm doing worth it? Not what's it costing me. In fact, the price you will pay for not winning is infinitely greater the rest of your life than the price you will ever pay to win. But you're negotiating it too often. You're vacillating. It takes your energy. It strips your focus. For most people, their will to win is for sale. For most people, with enough failure, enough setbacks, enough adversity, you can buy them. They will relent. They will sell their dream. They'll sell their kids. They'll sell their future. This is the truth. You remember I said this to you because you're going to face this moment. There's going to be a point in time in your life where what you know is not enough. And if you're me, when I arrive at those points, I got to find something higher than me to pull me through. That's me. How many of you would consider yourself, I should answer that. If you consider yourself a person of faith, you relate to what I'm talking about. You will eventually in your life arrive at a point where all your preparation, all your knowledge will not be enough, and you're going to have to rely on your faith and the decision you've made where you've negotiated the price in advance before it hits. Because for most people, enough of that, they'll relent. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. Yeah, it's just, the industry, the market changed, interest rates went up. We went into that market where just everybody was getting their butt handed to them. I learned all this stuff, just the timing was right. Or, you don't know about where I live. Where we live, this stuff doesn't.
Well, I think any business, doesn't matter if you're coming from the moon or you've been here forever or not been here at all, you have to you can't just come up with an innovation. People say, well, innovation is the key. I know that all businesses, Deming talked about this, so many different teachers have talked about it. It's all marketing and innovation. Drucker used to say, all businesses is marketing innovation. Well, what is that? Innovation is finding a better way to meet people's needs than anybody else does. And it's not enough just to innovate. You got to keep innovating. Apple's a perfect example. Yeah. It's the most successful company in the world, but the leader was such an innovator. He drove an innovation culture that right now they're in a little bit of a lull. Now, most of us are hoping that they're going to turn that corner. Yeah. But they're still doing great products, but they're not real breakthroughs. They're giving us some of the same stuff, but they're not making it unique enough. And then the second part of a business is marketing, which is getting people to want to do business with you. Yeah. Well, today we live in a world where it used to be that you could put out, the average person would watch advertisements, and after 4 ads, on average, at least in America, I don't know what it is in Europe, if they were going to buy, they would take some initial buying action. Now it takes 16 exposures. So the cost is gone crazy. So how do you break through that? The only way to break through that, some people do it by spending so much money and creating crazy ads that make you pay attention because they're so funny or bizarre or raw. But a lot of those ads, you don't buy their product. You laugh. Yeah. You know the company, but you don't buy their product. Right. Because it's not necessarily bringing you in. The other way a small business can do it is you've got to figure an innovation that meets a need that's missing. Right? It's not enough just to have innovation. A lot of business owners go, oh, I have this great idea and I'm so excited and they're going to go launch it. But there's not that big a need. And if you're going to build a business of scale, it has to feel a significant need in an innovative way. And then you got to market it. Now, how do you market it? Well, the best marketing of all is having a product that meets people's needs so well that the word of mouth is off the charts. And then the second way to do it, because there's no replacement for that word of mouth. And then the second way, and by the way, that's what's made my career go for 36 years, right? People saying, oh my God, not it was good, not it had a good time. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. There's nothing like it. You got to go. People think they're crazy until they go and get an experience. But then on the other side of it, you can also market today and have a huge advantage if you make your mentality of marketing what I call VAM, V-A-M, value added marketing, where instead of trying to compete for eyeballs, you go find out who that client is and you find a way to meet their needs and you do things for them that really meet their needs. I don't care if it's educate them, provide them an insight, something that gives them more convenience. The actual marketing itself does that for people. And then they begin to understand you, recognize you, like you, trust you, and want to do business with you. And that's the way to do it today because for example, I was at Nike and they called me up and they said, we want you to do a TV ad for us. And I said, look. I saw it. Oh, did you? Yeah. Amazing. So my first response was, I don't do commercials because I did silly infomercials for years because it was the only way to reach people, but I don't do commercials. And they came back and they said, but a bunch of your friends are going to do it. And I said, really? They go, yeah, we're going to have Richard Branson and Serena Williams and Kanye West. Kobe Bryant. Yeah, Kobe Bryant. And I'm like, and he said, it's going to be you and they're going to be the center of it. We're going to pretend Kobe is you. And they give me this whole thing. And so I called Richard and I said, are you really going? He goes, yeah, I'm going. And Serena, I'm really going. So we go to do this piece. You imagine how much money they spent to get all those people in one room to do this tongue-in-cheek ad that really doesn't change. It's nothing about the product whatsoever. It's just to try to get your eyeballs and attention. So most small businesses don't have those resources. They have to make up with it with an extraordinary product that meets the needs, and they got to make up with it by finding a way to do value-added marketing so that people say, this is someone I want to do business with. You can blow out a Nike if you can create a direct relationship with the consumer, and you can do that today because of social media and because of the impact of social media when you serve people.
At the end of the day, a lot of times people think inwardly about their company or their product. A lot of times I want to think, what am I promising the consumer? And how will I deliver that promise? I have to think about what's in it for that end of the day person who's going to come out of their pocket and buy it. So what am I promising? How am I going to deliver it? And now do I have the assets to deliver it accurately? What changed my life wasn't the fact that I wanted to become a millionaire. What changed my life was the fact that I wanted to make these clothes for myself, for other people, because nobody respected this market. I was doing something I loved, and then all of a sudden it started to take off.
Can you tell me a little bit about that once that passion finally, caught on, and you finally decided, this is something that I want to move forward with, and a little bit about that first product and how it kind of all took off from there. And then did you ever decide, at that point it was like no slowing you down, right?
Yeah, well, when that passion, when that thing grabs a hold of you, and as they say, when the needle is finally in the vein and you're really hooked, it's like being in love. It's like, you thought you liked somebody when you were 13, 14 years old, and, that was just something new and it was puppy love. But when you're 22, 23 years old, and you're out there sitting there making life decisions and saying, I can see myself with this person for the rest of my life, and you're getting butterflies every time you see them. That's what it is when you have a business and you have a company that you love. You can't see anything else. And, I would have dressed people till today for free if I could. And I'm sure you hear that from everybody else. An artist will rap and sing, anytime they can be seen. And just like the kids in school who always got kicked out in special ed who are comedians, they can't help it. They know that that's the biggest bully in the schoolyard, and they can't help it but crack a joke, even though they're going to get their head cracked open, but they just love what they're doing. And that's just how it was as a business. When I fell in love with FUBU when I saw that first person walking down the street with my product on.
And for like an entrepreneur, not forget a salesperson, how about just an entrepreneur who's looking to start a business? Well, if you can't sell, if you can't influence, if you can't persuade, good luck trying to get your business off the ground. I'm not talking about just your customers. I'm talking about the bankers, the people with venture capitalists, your vendors, your credit card processor, the people who work for you. How do you get people to work for you excited? How do you get them excited? How do you get them to want to buy into your vision? At the highest level, what sales really is the transference of emotion. And the emotion you're transferring is this emotion of certainty. That someone feels certain, yeah, it's a good thing, it's going to help me, it's going to fill my need. When you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to start a business, and you're recruiting people, well, you're selling people on your vision for the future, your vision for this company. If you can't do that, good luck trying to get great people to work for you. It's nearly impossible, which is why you always see, the people, they say, oh, he's a visionary. Well, that's true, but typically not only are they visionaries, they also possess the ability to sell the vision to other people, to inspire them, to motivate them. So selling is not just like, people think of selling, oh, well, I'm not a salesman, I don't need to. Well, yes, you do. You need to learn how to influence. How about trying to get your kids to make their bed, or do their homework, or believe in the value of education? How about trying to get a landlord to give you a reduction on your rent, or to extend the lease the way you want? How about trying to negotiate terms? You understand, it cuts to everything. So I always look at this, say, when I say I cracked the code on influence, what I really did essentially was I was, by working backwards almost, by saying I'm going to start at the end and go to the beginning, say what has to happen before someone says yes. I was able to take that and put it into this system that took the no-name, talentless guys and turned them into millionaires.
There was a brilliant leader by the name of David Marquet who wrote a book called Turn the Ship Around. And he had an experience as a submarine captain on the USS Santa Fe, where he realized that as much as he knew about submarining, he'd been a submariner his whole career, that put on this new submarine, he learned the hard way that he actually didn't know how the submarine worked. He made an order that nobody knew how to do it because that didn't exist on that sub. And so he realized he had no choice but to trust his people. And he went through this transformation as a leader of telling everybody what to do to allowing people to tell him what should be done. And I've learned a lot from him, and I highly recommend his book. And I've really learned that, which is, at the top of the organization, as David says, the people have all the authority. The leaders have all the authority, but at the bottom they have all the context, right? And so you can't just push all the context up, you have to push the authority down. And so the responsibility of leadership is to train people, make sure that they have the skill set, help build their confidence that they have the confidence to do what needs to be done. Yeah. They have to have competence and confidence. Right. And that's your job. That's the only job of the leader. It's like a parent. Mm-hmm. Make sure they have competence and confidence. Make sure your kids get schooling and make sure that they believe in themselves. And then leave them, And so I've done the same thing. Instead of sort of showing people how I would do it, I want them to learn how it's done, you know, and feel good about themselves, and then just however they do it is how they do it.
Yeah.
You know, and the result is remarkable. People feel better about coming to work. They feel like they have something to contribute. They feel more valuable, as opposed to just being told this is how I would do it, or I'm going to do it this way, or do it my way. So yeah, completely changing my understanding of my job as more like a parent than a manager has had remarkable impact.
We are not a company that normally China call. We call ourselves a company running a platform, a company that is running an ecosystem. We are almost everywhere. People say, Jack, you know, you are in the B2B and B2C, and you're calling C2B on the finance and online payment, logistics, cloud computing. You are everywhere. Not because we're greedy, not because we want to do it, because we have to do it. If we do not do it, China e-commerce in the years will collapse. I remember 9 years ago when I started Alipay, people say, Jack, don't touch the financing sector because it's illegal, you may be in prison. And we taught ourselves if we don't do it, the China e-commerce will always like a chat room. Everybody say, it's a good thing, and I don't pay, you don't get the things. So I say, well, put me in the prison. Let's make sure that Alipay, the payment solution, works. And people say the payment solution is such a stupid idea. It's an escrow service. I pay you, hold the money, and you get the things. You pay the money. If you don't get the things you want, return the money. They say it's a stupid product. And I say, as long as it solves the problem, I like stupid things, you know. Let's make stupid things smart. Keep on improving every day.
If John isn't making sales, we say, okay, let's get on him about making sales. But perhaps we should ask, why isn't he making sales? Someone says, he isn't making enough calls. We say, okay, let's get on him about making calls. Well, maybe we should ask another question first. Why isn't he making calls? Well, it's because he isn't getting up early and getting out into the marketplace. We say, okay, let's get on him about getting up early and getting out into the marketplace. Well, perhaps we should ask just one more question. Why isn't he getting up early and getting out into the marketplace? Now we have probably gotten to the heart of the problem. Perhaps it's something personal, problems at home, not his sales skill. The real problems are usually about 3 or 4 questions deep. So if you get good at asking questions, you can save yourself a lot of time by getting right at the heart of the matter when dealing with other people. Otherwise, you tend to waste valuable time just finding out what the problem really is. Now here is the last part of time management. Learn to think on paper. From all of my experience working on many projects and in many countries, one of the major time savers is thinking on paper. It is so important to take things out of your head and put them on paper, then work from the paper. Building your business is a lot like building a house. You take the ideas out of your head, put them on paper, and then build from the plan. We have a saying on this idea: operate from document, not from thought. It's just about over when a person wakes up in the morning and says, let's see, what shall I do today? Too late, right? The best thing you can do now is to take today off and at least plan tomorrow. Let me give you 4 major ways to think on paper. The first is a journal. I spend a lot of time talking about journals in my lectures and programs, primarily because it is such an invaluable tool for the serious student of the better life. A journal is merely a gathering place for all the good information that comes your way, from sermons, from books, from lectures, from business conferences, magazines, thinking time, research, any source of information that you feel is worth keeping. Don't let the good ideas of life escape you. Remember, most good ideas usually only come by once. Get into the habit of capturing them with pen and paper by making daily use of your journal. Now maybe you won't write in it every day, but at least make sure it's with you every day. Here's the second way to think on paper, a projects book. This is simply a ring binder with tabs in it to help you keep track of all the current people and projects you are involved with and need to work on to make all the parts of your life work to the maximum. If you are working with people, give them each a tab in your projects book. Then under this tab, you keep a running account of all the current information you need to know about that person. Performance, family, goals, strengths, needs, perhaps even some graphs showing recent progress or comparisons to past performance. Essentially, you make a note of all the information you need to know so that when you sit down to have a meeting with this person, you have all the pertinent facts there before you in order to have a meaningful and productive conversation. Without this habit, it's so easy to take up time talking with someone and get so very little accomplished because most of the meeting ends up by being devoted to bringing you up to date on the facts you could have already had in your projects book.
Everybody, let us say together, lead and grow your wings on the way down. See, in order to control your destiny, you've got to be a risk taker. You got to be willing to risk people talking about you. You got to be willing to risk someone saying no. You got to be willing to fail again and again and again. You're different. You're an entrepreneur. You're strange. You're not like everybody else. We live in a world where we're told more about our limitations rather than our potential, and so most people just can't see themselves doing better. But you're different. You see some things they can't see. And I encourage you, every one of you in this room right now, you're here for a reason. How many of you know people who should be here? Raise your hands, please. Yes. But you know what? They're in their rightful place. Their rightful place is where their thoughts have brought them. Their true place is where their thoughts can take them. Everybody is in their rightful place. Here's something else. Seek out positive information. I want you to write this down. My Facebook page is brown.less. Every day we post a positive message there. Every day at brown.less. Because you're in this room, I want you to write this down. Because we're going to send you, we're going to do something called presentation power. You're going to get a chance to view some videos that will give you some directions. But more importantly, I'll tell you what I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you 7 power strategies of how to be a powerful storyteller. So email me at yes@lesbrown.com and say, send me the 7 principles. Mention that you were at this convention. We'll send that to you free. It will give you a guideline how to tell your story. When I started off this presentation, I started off telling my story. I was born in the poor section of Miami, Florida, in Liberty City. Born in an abandoned building with a twin brother. You remember I told you that? My mother worked on Miami Beach as a domestic worker, making up beds, cooking for families. Remember I told you that? See, your story is your power. How many of you have gone through some things? Raise your hands, please. How many of you experienced some things in your life? Raise your hands, please. How many of you have periods in your life like me where you're temporarily insane? Raise your hand, please. Your story. The presentation power will tell you how to tell your story. I've given lectures at Harvard, Yale, spoken around the world, telling my story. You got a story too. Here's what the power of the story does and why it's important in your presentation and building your organization and why it's going to give you the upper hand and how to recruit people and how many like to get A players? Raise your hands, please. Good. Here's what your story does. Write this down. Distract. See, how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. When you're presenting one-on-one or a small group or in a large group, when you tell your story, you're creating an interruption. When you're telling your story about the business of being on a path of creating financial independence, you're interrupting their story, what psychologists call their self-explanatory style. So distract. Let us say together, distract. Here's the other one. Say dispute. When you are going through your presentation, and we're going to teach you how to do this, you're dismantling their limited belief system where they've been programmed to believe only in having a job, the journey of the broke, where they're miserable. They go to work, where they pay them just enough to keep them from quitting, and they work just hard enough to keep from getting fired. That's what you call mixed emotions. Seeing somebody you hate drive off a cliff in your car. You're glad they're gone, but not in my car.
And it begins when you understand. It begins, Marcus, when you understand. It begins when you understand. He still wants you. He still wants you. Your voice in the choir, your message, your service. He still wants you. He still wants you. You're still his daughter. You're still his baby girl. Mistakes and all. He still wants you. He's still got a plan for your life. I'm not excusing your shame. I'm not justifying your mistake. I'm telling you that his grace is bigger than your disgrace and that he still wants you. I'm telling you that God is bigger than your deepest secret, your darkest night, your daughter out of wedlock, your disgrace, your drug addiction, your problem, your pain, your self-medication, your trauma, your family crisis. The scandal in your family is not bigger than the grace of our God. I came to tell you he still wants you. Came to get to you before you end up in the potter's field, self-destructing, self-medicating, self-destroying every opportunity over something you can't get rid of. God loves you, man. That God actually loves you. He still wants you. And you thought you just zoomed in to be zooming in. God wanted you to hear this word. This particular message has got your name on it. I can't help that she don't want you. He still wants you. I can't help that they're talking about you. He still wants you. I can't help how they stare at you. God said, I still want you.